tonight we'll be talking about what's new features in recent BullCharts versions. That's the last 3 versions. So welcome to tonight's session, everyone. I'll pull up, here's the agenda for tonight's session. Now the agenda, as most of you know, I think, sorry, maybe I should take a step back and first of all declare that there's no advice tonight. This is for general information and education only. Anything you see is really just for information. We don't know anyone's personal background, so there's no advice. The agenda that I'm sharing with you now is what we used last Wednesday night for the Melbourne meeting in Oakley. That meeting usually goes for 2 hours, once a month on the 3rd Wednesday. And the plan was this month to talk about the what's new features in BullCharts. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. Usually in these sessions we also talk about BullCharts tips, ask people for if there's any questions they've got about using BullCharts, and also invite anyone who's found something, a new feature or something that has been obscure and wants to share it as a tip. Feel free to share that with us because it might be useful, it might be an undocumented feature and others might benefit from it. The 2 items here on the agenda, item 5, trading in practice, we haven't done for a number of months and we won't have time tonight because we'll be fairly busy with our what's new. Under the general business heading, we talked about the Melbourne Traders Christmas lunch, meeting dates for 2017, and in that regard, for dates for next year, we might continue with the current pattern if everyone's happy with that. That is, we'll do these sessions on a Wednesday night late each month next year, and 1 week prior, usually the 3rd Wednesday, we'll do the Melbourne meetings. The next Melbourne meeting might be the 2nd Wednesday of the month, not the 3rd. Let's go to the minutes. The agenda document I've just shared and this minutes document are always available for everyone to view in 2 places on the internet. One is in the Yahoo Groups forum that everyone is quite feel free to access. You do need a user ID and to have your request to join the group approved. I manage that. That's not a problem at all. If you don't have access, let me know. There's also links to these documents in the emails I send out, and a second copy of these is stored in my Toolbox website for public access, and the links go there. So last week in our meeting, this is a summary of what we did. We had a quick look at the BullCharts knowledge base that is up on the internet now at the BullCharts website, and I'll show you that in just a moment, which reminds me what I should do is prepare it because it might take a minute to get there. So on my other screen, I'll just type in what it is and let that go. The second item on the minutes there is about the change to the database system, and we'll explain that in just a moment. We then looked at the availability of commodities, overseas stocks and indexes and how they appear in the security manager. And that's that screenshot on the right. And tonight we can have a look at what they are, how they work, how you download them, and if you don't want it any longer, how you get rid of it. Coupled with all of that is the BullCharts data downloader tool, and we'll have a chat about that too. I've learnt that for sessions like this I need to stop it from running, so it's not running currently on this laptop because from time to time it hogs resources, and actually that's prompted an upgrade, and in version 4.4, which is currently in beta testing and which some of you might be aware of, the 4.4 version of BullCharts in beta testing includes some enhancements to the data downloader so that it doesn't hog so many resources. So that's good news. Synchronize all windows, we'll talk about in a moment. Export to Metastock. If anyone has any interest in that, we can have a look at it. If not, then we might skip over that one. Further down in the minutes document, there's a note about a feature that was new a year or 2 ago. That's the comparative percent performance chart. We can have a quick look at that because that's fairly useful. There's a very small feature which answers the question, which watch lists does a particular stock appear in? And we can have a look at that if you're interested too. Further down is the detailed watch list. That was included in a version a year or two back, and there's now an enhancement to it. We'll talk about that one, and we might dwell on that for a moment, because last week Andrew explained that with his live data plan he really loves this particular tool during the day, because it shows, there's a column there that shows percent moved, and he can open up one of these lists listing all 200 odd stocks in the XJO index, sort by percent moved since the start of trading, and he can see up to the minute what has moved in the session today, up or down. So he finds it very useful, and if you're not aware of that one, it's worth spending a minute to look at. There's also been the Workspace Manager toolbar, which we can have a look at for those who like workspaces. If you don't know what a workspace is, we can explain that, and that might make some sense. There's also item K there in the minutes, talks about the what's new documents. Now there's a what's new document for each of version 4, 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3. They are in the BullCharts knowledge base. Well, I'll show you that in just a moment. The next thing here in the minutes was an explanation of the 3 data plans. Someone asked about the snapshot data plan, and last week in the meeting we explained that by talking about the end of day data plan and what's included. Then we talked about the live data plan, which is at the other extreme, and in between those 2 plans is the snapshot plan. Now, happy to go over that tonight if anyone wants to. Otherwise there's snippets in there about that in the minutes. So having done all of that, what I might do is pull over 2 things. I'll show you the browser and where the BullCharts knowledge base is, how to access it, and I'll pull up my BullCharts window. Just while I do that, are there any questions about anything we've covered there so far? No? Okay. Here's my browser window. I'm running Mozilla Firefox in Windows 10, and I'll try not to say this very often, I hate Windows 10. This web address, the URL for the BullCharts knowledge base is, you'll see near the top left corner, kb, short for knowledge base.bullcharts.com.au. And when you get to that web page, you'll see a couple of menu items across the top, and listed down the page is now quite a collection of short documents that Brendan Lansdowne has prepared and posted into the knowledge base. And this is something he's keen on expanding. So if there's a commonly asked question or an issue or something you'd like to know about, it might be there. If it isn't, feel free to ask someone about it. Ask myself or Brendan or any of the support team in Sydney. And if it seems to be a common question, the boys might write a short answer to it and post it. And just by way of an example here, you'll see that the top left corner there, there's the heading BullCharts app, and that's all about the BullCharts app for iPhone, currently available and has been for a month or 2 and has received some positive feedback. The Android one is still on its way. There's a heading there for BullCharts support. If I scroll down, there's some getting started, how to synchronize windows, a bit on Metastock, installation notes on the right, more about Metastock there. Stock market data, what's new. So here's the what's new heading. I notice there's 2 links there. Let's click on the document heading, not the heading. On the next page that's opens up, here is some information about what's new in BullCharts 4.3. So a brief summary of the features, including a link there to the what's new document, the PDF file. And so it is for version 4.2 and 4.1. Now there was also a version 4.1 and a 3.9 version. They're not available here. I've got copies separately. So that's the BullCharts knowledge base. Feel free to have a look at that and explore it. The other thing you'll find, last month in October we ran some information about TradeSim and a demo, and I mentioned some TradeSim documents. In my browser here, just to see if there's anything on the knowledge base page about TradeSim, I'm going to use the search key. Now in Mozilla Firefox that's Control F. Down in the bottom left corner where it's waiting for me to type in some text. So I'll type in TradeSim and my browser will find any text on the page that is exactly that and highlight it. It says there's one of one, and if I click on the trade sim item there, because a lot of those headings are uncategorized currently, there are a number of links to some trade sim materials. So if you missed that last month and you're interested in trade sim and back testing, feel free to have a look at that. Any questions about that while I switch screens again? No. Okay.
Robert, when you're looking for, say, general stuff about scanning or something like that, the knowledge base is not the place to be looking for it, is it? It's more into some of the other areas of BullCharts, is it?
The knowledge base is comprised of snippets of information material that have been put together to answer specific questions.
Yeah.
If you're after a how-to or something very specific or syntax or something for BullCharts, yeah, it's probably best to go to the help for that.
Yeah.
Was there something particular you had in mind you wanted to look for?
No, it's just a general sort of question.
Yeah, okay. Don't forget too, I'll just bring up my BullCharts window. Don't forget too that in BullCharts now, under the help menu item, there is BullCharts help, the same as F1, function key F1, and when you do that, that brings up the online help within BullCharts, and the content there is very similar to the PDF user manual that many people have with the software is already installed on their hard drive. And if you don't, you can download it. It's quite a large PDF. It's now 500 pages. For new users, when you get the software these days, it's possible to have a hard copy of that 500-page document sent off to you with the CD, usually for an extra $40. But that's there. The second item on this menu is the BullCharts knowledge base. And I think that goes to the web and the window that we just looked at. There's also BullScan help and BullScript help, and some what's new in BullCharts. So the guys have added some extra items to that help recently. Also the BullCharts forum, there's a link there too. Anyway, that's the help and the what's new. We should launch into the what's new and have a look at some of these new features. So I'll go back to the minutes and help guide us here to help keep us on track. The first thing we mentioned in our meeting last week was the knowledge base. We've done that, and the what's new documents. Now the database system. The important thing to mention here is that until version 4.2, there was a change in 4.2. So up until 4.1 inclusive, the database system inside BullCharts was Microsoft SQL Server. It says that there, Microsoft SQL Server, and that was the database installed on your machine that it contained all of the price data for all Aussie securities. So that was included as a part of the package. Now that's changed in version 4.2. In version 4.2, the whole system has been changed. It's been quite a significant change to go from SQL Server to SQLite. Now SQLite means that there are different or separate databases now, one for Aussie stocks, one for US stocks, one for indexes, one for commodities, and we'll have a quick look at that in a moment. And what you can do if you're running version 4.2 or later, newer, version 4.3 or going forward, if you are, you can download these databases yourself from the BullCharts website. Now, in case you're not familiar with where to do that, let me pull up my browser, and up here in the address field I will type in download.bullsystems.com. I think that's going to get me there. That was in my history. Download.bullsystems.com, and it prompts for my username. This is my BullCharts data plan username. So if I log in here, log in, then I get to this page with some README materials. Now it says here supported operating systems not for Windows XP. That's a reference to the current versions of BullCharts. Now that was just a precaution that the guys were taking. I've now been running version 4.3 on my Windows XP desktop for a couple of months and there isn't a problem. So we probably should have that not for Windows XP taken off. We should remove that. You can click on the link here to download the What's New in BullCharts 4.3. You can click here to download the actual version 4.3 with the ASX database. And as we go further down, there's a heading for data tools. ASX data you can download. It's 200 megabytes big. An intraday tool for live plan. But what's of more interest to most people are the global indices, the American Stock Exchange, commodities data, NASDAQ, New York, Toronto, and so on down the list, or a package that includes 3 or 4 of those. You can click on any of those links to download that executable tool that has a database in it and run that package, and it will add that database or data set to your system. Now that prompts the question, which some of you might be interested in and some maybe not, and that is whereabouts do these databases go to? Now to find that, we can go to the BullCharts menu, Tools and Preferences, and on the Preferences tab, when this opens up, have a look at all of the tabs here under BullCharts Preferences, and the last option is Files. Now this option has been in BullCharts for a while now, but it's had some extra items added to it. If we scroll down a bit towards the bottom, we will get to eventually BullCharts database. Here is the path that goes to the BullCharts database, and also metastock data. If you wanted to export metastock data, that's the folder to where it goes. Is that right, English? The BullCharts database is here. You can change that location. If I click on View Location, what will happen is Windows Explorer will open up at some stage, and it's over on my other window. It will go to where those databases are. Now have a look right at the very top of this window. It's got the folder path. It's in the program files, Bull Systems, BullCharts, databases. And here it is here. And here is a list of 7 databases. Now have a look. There's the AMEX database, the BullCharts intraday database, the Bull Store database, which is all of the Aussie ASX data, the commodities database, an indexes database, and the NASDAQ. And see how big they are. The Bull Store database is about 1.2 gigabytes. So by all means, download these databases if you wish to start using them. Just be mindful that some of them can be a half to over 1 gigabyte in size and chew up some of your monthly data download limit if you're on a restricted plan or a slow link. So that you can download them, and that's where they go to. Let's go back to BullCharts. When you download these databases, this is how you get to see them in BullCharts. In the Security Manager, they're listed here under the heading Other. And you can see here I've got 4 items. I've got Amex. Now that I think is the American exchange. Exactly which exchange is it? I'm not sure. But we notice there are 2009 securities listed there currently. 2009. So if I just quickly scroll down, you'll see a whole lot of things there called Amex dot something or other, and a whole lot of stuff. The commodities list is a whole lot shorter. There's only 26 items here, 26 commodities, including one called iron ore. And that was one that a few of us asked for from time to time, and we could never really find a chart for iron ore. Now we've got it. We're looking at commodities here. Under this other heading in the Security Manager, we've also got some indexes. There's 1,500 odd indexes here. And we've also got the NASDAQ exchange. And there's 3,000 entries there. Now, that's prompted a couple of other issues that have all been programmed in. if you wanted to search across any of those exchanges and the Aussie exchange for a particular stock or index, in the Security Manager, one of the buttons across the top of the toolbar allows us to do a quick search. And this is a search I prepared earlier. I typed in CAC for the Paris CAC, and I got this list of 5 items that have got the letters CAC included in them, one of which is the Paris CAC 40, which is what I wanted. Now, that price data is in my local database here, so if I click on that, I should get the CAC chart here. The same applies for any popular stocks like Apple. If we don't know what the code is, security code for Apple, we can type in Apple, hit the enter key, and there's the Apple stock. We can see the symbol is AAPL, and there's its price chart. Same with Microsoft will do, NASDAQ.MSFT, and so on. So we've got all of those items now available in Security Manager, and we can search across them. Now, what you'll find once you've got this installed and these databases installed and applied, your data downloader might get busy updating them during the day. If that happens, you can delete them. No problem at all. All you've got to do is find out where they are, Tools, Preferences, and the Files tab. Scroll down to BullCharts database, go to View Location. Then when the window pops up, here it is here. Identify the database you no longer want. It might be COM, and you can simply delete it from the system. Right-click here, and from the drop-down menu, go Delete, and it'll be gone. And then at some stage down the track, if you want it back again, you can go back to the BullCharts website, to the download section, and just download the latest copy. So it is that easy to delete a database and reinstate the latest version. Or if you like, you can, if you just temporarily want to move it, you can take it away from here, maybe delete it from here and copy it somewhere else on your system so that you don't have to download it again later. So that was a quick blurt about one of the new features in BullCharts to do with the database system and the commodities, overseas stocks and indexes. I'm going to pause there for a moment. Are there any questions about that one?
Robert. Yeah, Rob, a quick question.
Yeah, George?
Yeah. In 4.2, I think I've got 4.2, you can't turn off the data download manager, and sometimes it hangs because it's trying to do things and I'm doing other things in Windows or whatever from there. Is there any way that you can actually turn off its attempt to try and pull down the latest information?
George, that's an excellent question, and I've found that the best thing to do is to simply shut it down. So if you identify the little BullChart symbol in your system tray and right-click on it, there should be 3 options, Settings, Exit and About. If you just click Exit, it will exit fairly quickly. And then it'll stop running. You can easily start it again later. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. If that doesn't work, the other way to shut it down is to start up Task Manager. Now in Task, mine's not running, but it shows up in my, no, it's gone. Okay. I'll show you in BullCharts here. In the old days, to get the daily data, we used to use this menu option, Tools, Get Daily Data, or Control-G. As soon as we choose that option now, the data downloader will start, its icon will appear in the system tray, and if you have a look at your Task Manager, your Windows Task Manager, you should see the BullCharts data downloader app appearing there in the window. Now why is mine not there? BullCharts framework is...
I know what you mean. Robert, but I mean, I actually don't want it to update sometimes for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know, I want to keep the data. I don't want the thing running in the background at all. Is there a switch to actually turn that off?
No. The only way to stop it is to either, as I said, choose exit from the icon in the system tray, or go to your task manager and actually delete end the task. So you can click here and click on end task, and it'll close down, and that doesn't cause any problems. There is no other switch that I know of.
Well, okay, maybe a suggestion for 4.4 in that case, and there's actually an option there, because you know, there are times when I like to keep yesterday's data, and you know, it'd be nice to be able to say don't automatically update.
Yes, if you stop the data downloaded the way I've suggested, it doesn't delete any of the data that's downloaded already. It simply stops downloading from now onwards, like a switch turning off and on, and you can restart it again and it'll catch up. That's not an issue. I hear what you say. It's not a very nice way to do it. Maybe for now it's a workaround. In 4.4, there are some extra things happening. This is what's new in 4.4 beta. There are some bug fixes, including a change to the data downloaded to fix lockups. Alec, I think you had a question.
Yeah, Robert, can you just go back to that search function that you were looking at a moment ago?
Yeah.
I think one thing I found very useful, and I don't know whether others are conscious of it, if you select the chart memo option there,
Yeah.
it'll actually, if you're using the memo functions that can be shown with the charts,
Yeah.
that function will allow you to search those memos.
Yeah.
So if you've put some particular item in there that you then can't remember where it was, that chart memo search will find any of those words or phrases or whatever in the chart memo section.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was something that I remember talking with Brendan about a long time ago, and he's actually done it better than I suggested in the first place. And I think that's quite powerful.
Okay.
If anybody uses that chart memo.
Alec, thank you for mentioning that. I'll briefly explain the chart memo because a number of people might not be aware of it. And at the same time, I'll point out too that another search option here is to search on comment fields. Now, don't forget that in our watch lists, we've also got there should be a comment field to the right. The comment was a third column in watch list, is a third column. We have never been able to search through all of our watch lists for a particular string of text in the comments. We can now, and as Alec has just pointed out, another option here is to search within chart memo fields. Now, there's also been a minor change with the chart memo. Now, what is a chart memo? If you go to the View menu and scroll down to the item here that says Show Chart Memo, you'll see that the shortcut key combination is Control-M. Now, it was Control-W, and the guys have changed that very subtly, and I think it was the last change, 4.2, was it 4.3? It's now Control-M. When you select that option, there's a panel that opens up at the bottom down here under the chart where you can type in a whole lot of text. Now, I'm just putting a whole lot of stuff just to fill it up, and whatever you type there is saved with that particular stock. Okay, now I'm viewing ABC, Adelaide Brighton. If I go to another stock like CBA, there's already some gumph in there that I put in once before, including a comment that says 25 November, bought 100 at $79. That could have been a good example of text in the chart memo field. And you can close that memo field by tapping Control-M and open it again with Control-M. And as Alec has suggested to us, if you search on the right-hand side in Security Manager, if you type in some text to search and click the chart memo option, you can search for that string anywhere, tap, and
there it is.
Search through all of the memo fields across all of the stocks in your database. So that's there too. Like I said, Control-M is how you hide and unhide the chart memo feature. Alec, thanks for mentioning that one. Anything else about that? Otherwise, time's running away. We'll move on. Okay, so we've talked about the database system, we've talked about commodities, overseas stocks and indexes, and the downloads page. We've also had a chat about the data downloader and how the version 4.4 is going to have a tweak to it. In BullCharts, I don't know if any of you are familiar, down in your BullCharts window, down in the very bottom right-hand corner, there is like a pair of plugs, like an extension cord. At the moment, if you can squint and look right into the bottom right corner of my chart there, my window, there's two plugs and they appear to be apart. That means I'm not connected to the BullCharts servers in Sydney. I'm running BullCharts in offline mode. Now, even running offline, the BullCharts data downloader will still start up when you start BullCharts, and it will run and it will download data automatically for all sessions that you're missing. So I've found no way to stop it apart from letting it start and then quickly exiting. So that's my workaround for now. Let's have a look at this next feature, item E in the minutes. It's to do with syncing all windows. That was an enhancement in version 4.3. Now, let's have a look at it. We'll demonstrate it here. I've got a window with CBA. What I might do is I'll quickly open up a couple of other price charts. Now you can see that I've got 4 charts displayed currently. They're all one behind the other. Down across the bottom left, you'll see I've got 4 tabs. Now I could change one of them to be weekly, and I could change one of them to be monthly, and maybe one to be quarterly. I've got these 4 tabs, and the moment on the left, there's a button there called Synchronize All Chart Windows. That's been there a long time, and my 4 chart windows are all synchronized. Now I can tile those 4 windows so that they all appear on the screen together. So here they all are, and I can show all data here using the button up the top here that says Fit to Window. Fit to Window. Now on my charts I've got a price axis on the right and the left of each chart. I can delete one of those, or I can add it, delete that axis. I don't want that axis, delete this one, delete, just to give us some more room. Now at the moment those 4 windows are synchronized because that button on the left has synchronized all chart windows. Now if I type in a stock code to change to maybe another bank like NAB, that will actually change for all of the synchronized windows. So if I wait a moment and then have a look, you'll see that the quarterly chart has changed to NAB, the monthly chart's changed to NAB, the weekly and the daily all changed to NAB. Now what if I wanted one of those windows to be not synchronized with the others? Well, in version 4.3 you'll have to look very carefully. Near the top right corner of each chart window there is a little blue dot. It's actually a button now next to the date. The little blue button there, when I hover the mouse cursor over it, the little tip text that pops up says click to unsync window. If I click there, that chart window becomes unsynchronized, or unsynchronized from all the others. So this one here is now unsynchronized. If I go back to the others and maybe go to Westpac Bank, then the group of synchronized charts, the 3 on the right, they're all synchronized. They'll go to Westpac. And this one on the left is unsynchronized. It stays on NAB quarterly. So that's a feature that allows you to have several charts synchronized and one or more charts not synchronized to that at all. I can type in a request for a new chart. I just use Control N for new chart. It might be the financials index XFJ. This will open up quarterly and it'll appear over there. And you'll see that that is currently synchronized, but I can unsynchronize it. So now I've got NAB at the top left, I've got the financials index bottom left, and 3 charts to the right are all a bank synchronized. So that's that feature there that says synchronize all windows enhancement so that we can unsynchronize one. And that's explained in the minutes there on that page and with that diagram. Related to that, something I haven't shown you is that button on the left-hand side, synchronize all chart windows, now has a little drop-down option which shows you that you can set all charts to be resynchronized. So if I actually select that option, all charts will then become resynchronized back to one stock. So it turns on all the little blue buttons again. And of course, if I click on the button to unsynchronize, then all of the charts will be unsynchronized. The little blue buttons all disappear, and I can actually make them all whatever I like. Okay, let's have a look at the minutes of last week's meeting and see what's next. That was synchronize all charts. The next item is export to metastock format. Is anyone interested in exporting to metastock format? If you are, it's explained on that page and happy to show how it works. If you're not using metastock formatted data, then we can save a few minutes and skip over that and go on to the next one.
So basically, Robert, you've got to have a copy of Metastock to want to do it, haven't you?
That's a good question. No. I'm not sure why anybody would want to export data into Metastock. What this option will do is, if one of the databases you've got has got some data in it and you want to export that data, which might be Aussie stocks or American stocks, if you want to export that out to Metastock, then you can use this option without having Metastock data and without the Metastock key.
Robert, the other reason can be that there are other programs, even some free charting programs that work off Metastock data. Mm-hmm. So, some people may want to use Metastock data for that purpose.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good too. Alec, thanks. That option is in the BullCharts data downloader, and it's one of those 5 tabs, and it's fairly straightforward. And this page in the notes explains that by choosing a data set from that list by ticking the box, clicking on Collect Now, the data will go out to your hard drive into the folder. By default, it's the folder on your C drive called WebLink Data. You can change that folder to another one. That's where it goes to. To change it, go into BullCharts Preferences, the Files tab, and scroll to the bottom near the option for BullCharts Database, and you can change your Metastock data location. The next item explained in the minutes here was from not the latest upgrade release 4.3, but one earlier was actually 4.1, which I think was now a year or a year and a half ago. And a number of you have probably seen this feature. I think I demonstrated it at the time, but some might have missed it, or it may have since escaped. So what I'll do is I'll quickly demonstrate it and explain it again. Firstly, I'll close my workspace. Let's have a quick chat about workspaces. At the moment on my screen, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 price charts displayed. Now, any one of these price charts can have a template applied. Now, at the moment, I've got templates specified across the top of the screen. My template toolbar, it's a really long one. The 5 default templates on your toolbar are the red ones towards the left here, PLA, BL, VPT, HAV, and TC. I've got a bunch of others. This one is Weinstein's view of the world, weekly chart, 30-week moving average, and stage analysis. So that's a template, but a workspace is all of the price charts currently on the screen and how they're laid out and positioned. And what I can do is I can save that particular layout as a workspace. So if I go File, Save Workspace, then BullCharts will prompt me for a location and a file name for the workspace. And I do need to make sure it's going to save it in the Workspaces folder. It looks like it is. what I want to do is give it a name that might be temp bcug and save, and hopefully that's put it in the right place. Then I mentioned earlier that there's a workspaces toolbar been added into BullCharts in a version or two back, and I've got my workspaces toolbar here. I've got mine docked down on the bottom, and it's a little bit longer than some. I've got one button on this workspaces toolbar called Global, and the text behind it says Global Indexes Newest. If I click on that button, the workspace that's open, all of those price charts will close, and this particular workspace will be applied. Now this workspace comprises, I think it's about 12 price charts that are all overseas indexes, but that symbol is no longer valid. And what I can do is arrange those. I can tile all of those windows. Not that one. One, two. Oh, I'm offline. I need to go online to do this. So let's connect. And what we'll do is we'll have data populated in these 10 windows. There's the FTSE. There's the Dow Jones Transport Average, CAC 40, the XAO, the S&P 500, and top left, bottom left, the Dow Jones Industrial, and so on. So that's a workspace. So if you've got a set of charts that you want to view from time to time, laid out around the window in a manner perhaps like this, then it's a simple case of set it up, then go to File, Save Workspace, specify a name, and then you can edit the workspace toolbar down the bottom and add another toolbar to that, add another toolbar button to that toolbar. And that'll be workspaces. Now what's this one here? BCUG 1. Just 4 charts. Okay. So that's a quick snippet about workspaces and one of the items that's further down the list. Oh, it's still opening. I must get a faster laptop. Okay, so this workspace is 2 price charts synchronized with a particular set of indicators shown and security manager displayed. Okay. All right, that's workspaces. Now I was going to show you comparative percent performance. So let's close this workspace, File, Close Workspace, and start off with a blank screen. Let's have a look at the banks. Here's one bank, CBA. How has CBA performed compared to its rivals and the sector index over the last few months? Okay, it's easy to do. There's a button near the top right of our screen here. The about 4th or 5th last button is a percentage symbol on a toolbar button. It's comparative percent performance. If I click there, a dialog box pops up and it says what start date do you want to choose, or I can untick it. It'll be the current left end of the chart. Let's leave it ticked and let's include the sector index, and we'll compare CBA to NAB, comma, Westpac Bank, comma, and ANZ. Note, I've got 3 stocks there with commas separating them and no spaces. That's important, no spaces. Click OK, and on this price chart of CBA, what happens is it will change the vertical axis from dollars and cents to be percent performance. And on the 2nd of February 2015, if I zoom out far enough, there will be a vertical red dashed line at that date that I specified. And there's the performance of the banks and their sector index over that period in time. Now I can drag this red start date for this comparison along the chart so that I'm zeroing my start date essentially. Let's zoom in. I can't zoom in. Let's have a look. That's June this year. Let's go in a bit further. Okay, so there's the bank's performance since about late July. Now one of those lines will be the XFJ and the other three will be the other banks. And we can see by reading off the scale, the price axis, that's actually in percentage terms. That's percentage performance zeroed as at that vertical red line, the start date for the comparison. So if we wanted to compare one stock to another or to several, and perhaps to its sector index, you don't need to know which sector index it is, because by default, BullCharts knows and it'll apply it for you. So that is the comparative percent performance chart. That was in 4.1. This item H, which watch lists does a particular stock appear in? Yes, see the watch list report panel. View, panels, watch list report window. Control-Shift-W. Now I'm afraid that when I do this I'm going to have a long list of watch lists because it's in many. Here's the panel and here's all of my watch lists in which CBA is actually shown. Yeah, too many. It's best just to have a look at the sample here in the PDF file in the What's New document. For this stock ATC, maybe that's a good one, ATC. Does it still exist? There it is, view, panels, watch list report window. None, it's not in any of my watch lists. So if you're wondering which watch lists a particular stock appears in, there's an option. The next one here is what I mentioned earlier, Andrew really likes, and we can show you that one. I won't show it for the XJO, but what I will do to try to demonstrate how powerful it is I'll close that price chart. I'll go back up here to security stocks. What we want a watch list. Index composition, let's go to the XTL index, the S&P ASX 20. I know that's the XTL and I know there are 20 stocks in there. Now these are the top 20 stocks in our market theoretically, as in the XTL index. If I want to see a table like this one here, a detailed watch list for those 20 stocks, there are two ways to do it. I can either double click on that entry in the Security Manager, or from the menu button in Security Manager I can click on View Detailed Watch List. Now having clicked on it, if I wait a moment or 10, BullCharts will open a window, pop it up there with all of those 20 stocks in it. If it was the XJO, it would be 200 stocks. And you can see this list is currently sorted by security code. I can resort that list by clicking on the column header, for example for the percent move, and we can see what's happened today in today's session for the percentage move and how much they've moved. Likewise across all of these other columns you can sort by those if you like. And the other thing that's I think mentioned in this document is there were two extra columns now available in here, not mentioned there, but these columns you can delete some of these columns from this view or add extras. To do that, go to Format, Current View, Customize Current View, and in this dialog box you'll see on the left a list of all of the columns you can have included and the ones you can remove. Now let's take away traded time and maybe quantity ask. Let's leave them. On the left we can take something like dividend yield and add that, and we can move it up the list so it'll be a column towards the left side of the window. X date we can add, we'll move that up as well. X date, move up, and so on. There's a lot of other fields here that we can add. A lot of them are fundamentals. VWAP was a value that was a field that was added in a recent upgrade, so that's now available. We can have that included there. And there was one other that I can't recall, it might have been market cap added. Move that up too. Let's put them together, click OK. So here now what we've got is a revised layout for this table we've got percentage moved, dividend yield, we can sort that column, have a look at the high percentage dividend yielders, NAB and Telstra at the top of the list. We can see a column with X date, and clicking on that column header will sort that column too by date very faithfully, and other things as well, including market cap. So that's what we call the detailed watch list, and it's available with these extra fields that you can add or remove. That's available in BullCharts now. Any questions about that one?
So that's a pretty useful thing. At the end of the day, data, you can just go to XKO or whatever and just see who's performed best for the day, can't you?
Yep.
Yes, no?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, you can. Yep.
Yeah. All right, then you just click sort up by the top of your percentage moves there. Yeah, righto. Yep, very good.
I've noticed that you can set, the way you just changed it before, you can then set that as a default.
Yes.
So that every one you click on is then the same, otherwise you have to get in and change them all.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Once you've made some changes, yes, if you wanted to use that again readily, you need to save it as and give it a name and then make that the default. Yes, you're right.
Yep.
Otherwise,
or if you go to, if you were customized, one of the drop downs is default.
okay.
Default, that's right.
Yeah, good. All right, that's handy to know too. So, and there's the XJO. So, David, yeah, there's the 200 stocks in XJO and how they perform today. Now, for anyone with live data, as Andy does, this will actually, you can pop this up, and during the session, the latest pricing data actually changes on the screen while you're watching as the day progresses.
Yep.
So throughout the session, if you're looking at the fast movers throughout the session, you can resort this at any time during the session and see what's moved to this point in time during the session.
Yep.
Okay, that's that one. And we're almost at the end. We've taken an hour. The next item is Workspace Manager Toolbar. We digressed a minute ago and had a look at that one. So that was Workspace Manager Toolbar. And there are some other perhaps trivial, not so significant features or enhancements or changes in BullCharts in the last 2 or 3 versions that I've not covered off here, but they might be mentioned in the What's New document, so feel free to have a look at those. And then, as I said earlier, last week we looked at the data plans and snapshot data. That's just about all that I've got to demonstrate tonight. That's about an hour. Are there any questions about any of that? While you're thinking, I'll think about what to do next. Otherwise, it's nearly time to wrap up the session.
Yep.
Yeah, Robert, the live plan, is there an intraday chart?
Intraday.
Yes. Yes.
George, when you say intraday, exactly what do you mean intraday?
Well, normally there's dailies, weeklies, monthlies, etc., but to take advantage of a live plan, you want intraday chart somewhere.
Yep. Okay. I've got access to intraday data in the chart styles toolbar in the drop down where there is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. With an intraday or live data plan, you get these other options: 2 hours, 1 hour, 30, 15, 10, 5, 2 and 1 minute charts. So if I choose, say, 1 minute chart.
That feature happens when you get the live plan, I presume.
Yes, that's right. For testing purposes, I've got 2 accounts here I can log in. If I log in with my end of day plan, I only get to see the 5 end of day options here: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. When I log in with my live plan, I get all of these other options too. And having chosen 1 minute, now that data doesn't live in your database on the machine. Of course, it comes from the servers because it's live. even at this time of day. So having chosen it, what I need to do is wait for that data to come down from the server in Sydney over the internet, assuming my internet connection is up. So where's my...
Can I ask you?
While you're waiting as well, so does the live plan also work for the American database and the commodities and things like that? Is everything working?
No.
No.
No, it doesn't. No.
No, it doesn't. Could I ask a question, please, Robert?
Yeah, yes, Ted.
My live plan, my 1 minute, 5, 10 minute charts do not keep up to the daily charts. They run about 15, could even run up to 5 to 10 minutes behind. Now, is that something to do with something I haven't downloaded, or is that because it's coming from the server from Sydney?
No, they should be spot on.
Yeah.
Mine definitely are not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of why that might be. And no, there's nothing else you need to do. There has been a change with version 4.2 onwards for live data users, and that is that if you download intraday data, if you view a chart of intraday data, then BullCharts will take what you viewed and put it into a cache database, a live database, and keep it available for you to view another time. Now, all of that happens automatically in the background. Here we go. Here's a 10-minute chart. A 10-minute chart of CBA. Now that data should now be in my local live database for me to view again, and for BullCharts to add to later. And it shouldn't take this long. Oh, there you go. It just zoomed out. But it should be up to the minute, even up to the last 2 or 3 seconds. I've noticed when I've looked at live data, it's only about 3 seconds behind at most.
Yes,
mine used to be. Mine used to be, Robert, when I had the 4.1, but now I've upgraded to 4.2.
Yeah.
I'm definitely behind on every chart.
Okay. I think that'd be worth having a chat to Brendan about.
Right, shall do.
Yeah. Oh, look at the volume spikes. Is that at the close each day on CBA? Any other questions about data plans or something else?
Robert, just
yes, Alec?
Just going back to a couple of questions that were raised earlier in the day.
Yep.
If you go into Tools, if you wouldn't mind,
Yep.
and down to Preferences,
Yep.
and then into Data,
Yep.
right? Now, there's your data source. That can also be what I mentioned before, Metastock, if you have the Metastock key.
Yes.
But looking further down the page, see where it talks about dynamic update?
Yes.
I'm wondering if you unticked those items, whether that covers George's issue earlier on about not updating his charts when he doesn't want them to be updated. I don't really understand, to me, dynamic updates suggests that it's happening while you go, and maybe unticking those would stop the data downloader from updating the charts if he doesn't want that to happen. That might be worth asking the question.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The way I look at that, I don't think it would.
Okay.
I don't think it would, but it would be worth asking Brendan for clarification. So anyone who has that issue, yes, should ask. I'm thinking that first option says that having that first box intraday charts ticked means that the last tick to be updated dynamically means that on a say a 5-minute candle chart, that last candle will be continuously updated and the close will move up and down throughout that 5-minute period. Whereas if we untick that candle might not change at all until the end of the 5 minutes, and then boom, that candle appears. That's my guess. But,
okay.
What about daily charts?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, George, until you get some clarification, you can untick that daily charts box.
Yeah, for what it's worth, when I found a bug in 4.1 originally, and so I was talking to Brendan about an unrelated matter, and he mentioned this issue, and I asked him, is there going to be a button to turn off the automatic download, and he said no.
Okay.
I was bringing it back up again because I for one couldn't understand that. You know, to me, I like to have my data up to date until I want to change it. I don't want BullCharts telling me that it's time to upload the latest data.
Yes.
And he was saying, no, you can't have your cake and eat it. So,
yes, understand. Okay, interesting. Okay. Any more questions? Or questions about how do we do anything in particular? Does anyone want to see the fundamental report? I tried to do that last week to show John and it didn't work. I don't know why. I need to do it again and it might be a bug, not displaying. Any other questions? What else is down here? Oh, last week we talked about Chi-X. Now, I was surprised at how many people around the table last week. We had, how many, 10 or 11 people there last Wednesday. I was surprised how many did not know about Chi-X and the implications on the Aussie market. I'm sure some of you do, but it's possible some of you don't. So there are some notes there in the minutes, and what it basically says is that in Australia, the only exchange we ever had in existence for the last few years until 2011 was the ASX. Now, the ASX has only been there since the late 80s. Before that, it was a different story, but we won't go there. In late 2011, Chi-X became the second exchange operator in Australia and started to operate so that potentially your broker could buy or sell shares for you when you wanted, CommSec or whatever, on the ASX or through Chi-X. Potentially they could. Now, apparently today, Chi-X has grown their business such that they are prepared to trade nearly any stock on our market, Aussie market, and what that means is because about 15 to 20% of today's daily volume is done on the Chi-X trading system exchange platform, it means that the ASX has only got about 80% of the turnover each day, which means when we look at BullCharts and look at the volume bars on here, they might be under-reading reality by about 20%, roughly, as a guess. Now, some people don't care about that. Some people are gobsmacked because they didn't know, and those who know about Chi-X are not surprised. So if you think that's important, then that's something to be aware of. Chi-X exists, and you can look at their website for more details.
So it's Brenton here.
Brendan?
It's interesting you mention that because I've often wondered, like, you don't always see in the newspapers now, and they used to, and maybe that's showing my age a bit too with newspapers.
Yes.
You'd always see the turnover for the day.
Yes.
You know, 600 million or something like that.
Yeah.
But you don't see that written a lot now, and I often wondered whether that was because of the second operator there, and they actually either do they add the two together, or when they say turnover for the day, it's only the ASX. I haven't actually worked. I haven't gone in detail enough to work out what the case is. Yeah, but you don't actually always see. I mean, you still see it written sometimes, and I often wonder, you know, is that the whole turnover, or is it just the turnover on the ASX? Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and if they don't tell you, then we don't really know for sure. Anyone with a Web Iris screen and anyone trading something like CommSec's platform and Web Iris will be able to see this, and you'll be able to differentiate and be able to compare the volumes there against what we see in BullCharts. But yeah, unless they say we don't know.
And that other one you got on there, that centre point trading,
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to have a look at that link because I've often seen that when you see the trades, and you sometimes see the trades on some of the websites, the centre point, and I've often wondered, what is it? Yeah, I didn't know, and I don't know what it is. Yeah.
It's basically something to do with trading in between two particular price points, but it's something that's not available to most of us.
Yeah, and I know it seems to happen
when I've noticed it's usually at the end of the day, or at the closing prices is when I've seen it happen. So I don't know if it's, or is it, but don't quote me on it, it could be happening any time, but that's when I've noticed that most of it seems to happen when you see these centre point trades at the end of the day.
Yeah, it might be too. Yeah.
But now I can see that link there. I'll have a squid, isn't it? Yep.
Yep, have a look. Or if you lose the link, go to the ASX website and search for centre point. The other things that were briefly mentioned last week under general business was the IFTA conference was mentioned, how it was a really good event. A couple of you know that because you were there, I know. And that the next one is in Milan, Italy in October next year. And some people are already looking forward to that one. Also mentioned last week were 2 books currently having just been read by Graham, and he said they're worth reading. So have a look at those. And someone raised the question about the list of apps that we've got in our minutes, whether the one listed there as Stock Tracker should actually be Stocks Tracker. Now, if you're wondering what that is, if I scroll down here, further down in the minutes document, I've got a summary of things that have been mentioned in meetings recently, including books. There's a list of books there in the minutes on the left-hand side, and smartphone apps. And number 11 on that list was Stock Tracker, but it looks like it should be Stocks Tracker. And it's dawned on us that some of these are for Apple only, some are only for Android. So what we need to do is differentiate those and keep a record. So we're going to be doing that too. And that just about wraps up the session.
Robert, very quick question. Where do we find the fundamentals report? I can't recall.
Alec, yeah, good question. John Beattie asked the same question last week. It's an indicator. So if you go to Insert Indicator,
yeah, okay.
And under All Indicators, scroll down to the Fs, and you'll see Fundamental Report.
Yep, thank you.
Now, I don't understand why it's an indicator, and it worked now. It didn't work last Wednesday when I tried this. I don't know why it's an indicator, because it's really a panel, and you can delete several of those lines out of there if you don't want them. It's just a case of editing the bull script.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Robert.
Okay. Any others? Last minute call for questions, otherwise we'll wind up. Question, what do we want to do in December? We might be able to do this session in the last week, 25, about the 21st of December. How does everyone feel about doing it Wednesday the 21st?
Okay by me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, there's enough there for us to schedule that in, so we'll do that. We'll probably have our Melbourne meeting the week before, a week earlier than normal, so we'll do this session a week before as well. That means, does that mean we're 3 weeks from now? No, it's still 4 weeks. Maybe not, it's a long month. Yeah. Okay. Last minute call for questions.
No.
No more? Okay, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you everybody for participating.
Thanks, Robert.
It's been good to share all that information. And we'll look forward to catching up again. Good night all, thanks.
Thank you.